March 18th, 1983. This is Joe Todd interview with Berenice Welch. What's your maiden name?
Hodges.
I'm sorry?
Hodges.
Hodges. Mrs. Welch, where were you born?
I was born in Montague County, Texas.
A Texan. And when's your birthday?
April the 8th,
What year?
97.
1897. Who is your father?
Joseph Hodges. He was second.
And was he from Texas?
Well, I don't think he was born in Texas. I think he was a Tennessean. But his family moved to Texas when he was quite small.
Yeah, okay. And who is your mother?
Sarah E. Brown.
And was she from Texas?
Yes.
What kind of work did your father do?
He was a farmer.
Farmer. And when did he come to this part of the country, the Panhandle?
In December of 1903.
How come he came here?
Well, the strip was opened up a little earlier than that, but he decided that he wanted to come out here and see what it was like.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. And so he and my brother John came through in a covered wagon.
Mm-hmm.
It had taken them about 3 months to make the trip.
Where is, what part of Texas they come from? Where is that?
Well, we were living in the Indian Territory of Oklahoma at that time.
Oh, you were? What part?
Close to Ada,
Ada.
and Francis was our town.
Yeah, when did you move from Texas to Indian Territory?
We're interviewing you now, huh?
When she came through, I snatched her.
What?
When she came through, I snatched her.
Let's see, well, I don't know. About 1900, I'd
Do
say.
you remember the trip to Indian Territory?
Yes. We crossed Red River in covered wagons, and we had a bunch of cattle driving across. And they went down in the quicksand, and my brother, we had horses, people along to help with the cattle, and my brother was driving one of the wagons. We had two, and he just turned those lines over to my sister, and he helped with getting the cattle across the river.
Did you lose any in the quicksand?
I don't think so. They got them out quick enough that they didn't go down, but they would have soon gone down.
Yeah. How long did it take to go from Texas to Indian Territory to Francis?
Well, I don't really know. It must have been, well, I'd say 15 days.
Yeah. Did your father ever say how come they went to Indian Territory?
No.
Mm-hmm. And how long did it take to get from, you say the town was Francis?
Mm-hmm.
How big is Francis?
Well, it wasn't very large at that time, but I think it has grown some, or it's almost in Ada has grown out to it, I think. You see, they're super close together.
Yeah.
I haven't been down in there for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you stay there?
Well, I guess around 2 or 3 years.
Did your father farm there?
No, he had a little restaurant, chili stand, we called them, He made his own chili, and then that was, he sold chili and vegetable soups, and oh, just novelty, like candies or something, gum, you know, stuff like that.
And do you remember the trip out to the Panhandle?
Out here?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
How'd you come, by train or covered
Yeah, we
wagon?
came by train to Delhart. My mother and with 3 children.
How long did that take you?
Well, I don't know. I remember, though, when we got to Delhart, that we went to a hotel and spent the night. And the sand had been blowing so that we couldn't get in bed till we shook all the dirt off of it.
Was that in the hotel there in Delhart?
Uh-huh. And then we couldn't get a train on the Rock Island until the next day. So that's why we spent the night in Delhart. So then we came into Guymon on the train. And Daddy met us there in the covered wagon. And we came to a ranch house first day, which is, well, I don't know just exactly where it is now. But we spent the night there. They let us stay overnight. And then we came on into our farm the next day. And it was awful cold. I think it was in March. The wind was blowing real cold. And I know Mom and Dad got out and walked to warm up their feet, you know, and get their blood circulating better. And we 3 kids slept on a pallet in the bed of the wagon. And oh my, and we got out here, well, nothing, this prairie, as far as you could see.
Had your father approved up on the land?
Oh no, he just filed.
Yeah. When you went to the homestead, did he have a house built or what?
They built a half dugout, what we call half dugout. That was, the walls were dirt about 3 feet up and dirt floor. And then they built about 3 feet above that for the roof, you know, and
How big was
windows.
it? How big was it?
Well, I think it was about, say 12 or 14 foot wide and about 30 feet long. Made it into 3 rooms.
How long did you live in it?
Oh my, a good long time. 5 or 6 years, I'm sure.
Did you start the school here?
In the country, yes.
What school did you go to?
And it's called Prairie Rose.
How old were you?
Well, I was about 6.5 years old. Well, I was closer to 7 because my birthday. We came here in March, but we didn't have very long school terms.
How come?
Well, they just couldn't, you know. They didn't have the means to hire a teacher for 3 months maybe, for several years. And then they got up to 6 months, and then 8 months maybe or 9.
Mm-hmm. What was your teacher's name?
Well, my first teacher's name was Margaret Pittman. And this Vita Holman, have you interviewed her? Well, she hadn't been here very long, I guess, but she was related to her. And then my second teacher her name was Conwell, Mamie Conwell.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Oh, I like geography awfully well.
Geography?
Reading and spelling. Arithmetic was for the birds.
Did you go through high school?
No, I never finished high school.
How far did you go?
I was to the 9th grade, through the 9th grade, I guess.
What kind of chores did you do around the dugout as a child?
Well, when we first came, well, a long time afterwards too, till coal got being shipped here, we picked up cow chips for to burn and to cook with. There were a lot of them.
Mhm.
All you had to do was to go out and pick them up.
Did you have to do any like milking?
No, I played tricks on them. I wouldn't learn how to milk.
What kind of mischiefs you get into?
Oh, not too bad. My brother and I, he was younger than me. What we did for entertainment, these big old tumbleweeds would blow up in the corner of the pasture fence, and we'd go out and climb up on top of them and spring up and down and had a good time.
You told me you had a good story to tell.
Well, isn't this good?
Yes. Have some more stories like that?
Well, I herded cattle after several years on horseback.
You did? For your father? How many head of cattle did you have?
Oh, we didn't have too many, maybe say 15, that's all. And I'd taken a few music lessons from a lady who lived about 3 miles north, and I would ride the horse up there to take my music lesson. Well, one day, she didn't want to stay, I guess, so she rubbed the bridle off and went home and left me. So that was when telephones were in then. And I called and told them that the reason the horse was there and I wasn't, because she got the bridle off and I had to walk home. That's called a journey. But it was just straight away.
When did you first get a telephone? What year?
Well, it must have been about 7 or 8, 1907 or 8, somewhere there, because they were pretty popular, and I know in later years, but like 3 or 4 years later. But we were on a party line, but we had a way that we could cut off part of the people that we didn't want to hear what they didn't want to hear what we said. We'd go out and disconnect their line, for the time being. I know my sister was getting married at home, and we didn't want the whole neighborhood to know it, so I go out and disconnect the line till they made the arrangements, and then hook them back up again.
Who was a telephone operator?
Way back there, I think the one I can remember, her name was Grace Murphy,
Grace Murphy.
I think.
Where's the telephone office here?
Where is it here? It's back up here across from the Methodist Church.
Is that where it was originally?
No. Well, where that lawyer's office is, looks like a little dwelling, by the Legion Hall there. It was in that, but that was later years too. No, it was down the street here about a block, I think. All those old buildings are gone now.
Do you remember Statehood Day, 1907? November 16th, when Oklahoma became a state.
I know when it was, but I don't remember about it.
Mm-hmm. When did you meet your husband?
Well, I believe it was about 1819 or 1920 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I met him in Guymon. He was a Guymon man.
What was his name?
Herman Welch.
What year did you get married?
1925.
Did you do any work for the war effort during World War One?
Well, no. I just tried to fast a day or two, but I couldn't take it. I was pretty thin.
Remember Armistice Day when the war ended?
Yeah, I think so.
Was there a big celebration around here?
Yeah, I think there was.
Did you go to it?
I don't remember that,
Mm-hmm.
but I did.
Did you wear the dress and hair fashions of the 1920s? The short dresses and...
No.
No. You weren't a flapper then?
No.
Were there many flappers in town?
Well, they might have been. During 1920 to 25, we moved back to Texas.
Hmm. What
And,
part of Texas?
well, St. Joe, that's in Montague County. And then we decided we'd come back here. And we moved back here that same year, and then in the fall, that's when Herman and I were married. We were 25.
What kind of work did your husband do?
Well, he worked in a dry goods or general store at Guymon.
So did you move to Guymon then when you got married?
Yeah, about 7 months. And then the manager up there, he built this store where the TV shop is right here, you know. And that was our store, the model store. And we had dry goods and just a general store, shoes, clothing, and
Was it called the model store?
the model. And we worked in there for 38 years.
So it opened in what, 26?
6. Mm-hmm.
How did the Depression affect you and your husband?
Well, it was pretty rough. We had 2 children at that time. And didn't get very good wages. And of course, things weren't as high then as they are nowadays. And that's what saved us, I guess. We weren't able to buy much. We couldn't buy any land because we didn't have the money. And that's when land was cheap. If we'd have just had the money, we might have been worth something later on.
Mm-hmm.
But we managed. I wasn't working at the store for a few years there when the children were small. But I did housework. I worked out for people.
And you all made it okay.
Yeah, we made it.
What did your meals consist of at that time, in the Depression?
Meals?
Yeah, what was your average meals? You know, breakfast, dinner, and supper.
Well, they weren't too bad, really. We didn't go hungry, but we didn't have a variety like people put on nowadays.
Mm-hmm. What about the dust storms?
Oh, they were bad.
Can you describe the dust storm?
Well, it was awfully dry weather, and it would come up a cloud in the northwest back here, you know, and just looked like it was gonna give us an awful good rain. And when it just rolled, you know, and we just knew it was gonna be a big rain and thunderstorms and all, and it turned out to be dirt. And just roll in and get so black you couldn't see your finger this close to you in the house, you know, or anywhere else.
How long would a storm last?
Well, the blackest part would last 15 to 20 minutes, maybe. Has anybody told you any more about it?
A little, but
Did they say how long or anything? But they didn't. They didn't, the blackest part of it didn't last much more than that, I'm sure. But that was long enough, because put out the lights, well, if you had the lights on, you couldn't see them, even in the house, you know. But some people were caught out in these. But we happened to be home when the worst one, I guess, came.
What is dust pneumonia?
Pardon?
Dust pneumonia? I've heard that.
Well, I never had it, but I guess there's been a lot of people that did. Well, you just breathe so much of that dirt, you know, that it just kind of clogs your lungs.
How'd you keep the dust out of the house?
You didn't. My mother was awful sick in 36, and we just blowed one day from the southwest and the next day from the northwest. We just wet towels or pieces of sheets or whatever and put in the window, because the windows weren't seal-proof or storm-proof windows or anything, just a single window. But you lived, survived rather.
Let me regress. What about the flu epidemic of 1918?
Oh, that was bad too. My mother and my brother and I all had it at the same time. And my father taking care of us the best he could.
Did your father come down with it?
No, he didn't. But we had some cows, one cow. You see, way back there, you was allowed to have stock in town, in the limits, you know. And we had a cow, and he would milk this cow, and I think we had a hog or so. We were going to butcher. It got covered up with snow when it did snow, and had to dig him out, because you know they smother underneath that. But he would cook some for us, but we had, have you met any of the officers or anybody around here?
Yeah.
Well, you might before you leave or something. But Frosty Osborne, that's police, chief police, his grandmother came over and helped my dad with taking care of us a day or so. You know, not right long together. But I had long hair at that time, and she combed my hair and braided it up and all. But
What kind of medicines would they use, or home remedies?
Well, I think we had to have a doctor, but I don't know what it was. We had an old doctor here. People called him the horse doctor.
What was his name?
Lowry.
Lowry.
And he always gave a lot of powder stuff. He'd put out little papers, you know, and put a little bit of this out of a bottle and on every one of them, take another bottle and put a little dab of that on. I don't know what he gave us, but it seemed like people got well. Usually, you know. But they didn't have the medicines like they have nowadays, you know.
How many people died around here from the flu?
Oh, quite a few.
What were you doing when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor?
Oh, I couldn't believe it hardly. It was terrible.
Was there work for the war effort during World War II around here, like the bond drives or the scrap drives?
Yes, I think so.
Did you all help in them?
Yes. Red Cross meetings and all that. You know, that was during the First World War. No, that might have been the second. I don't know. No, it might have been right after the First World War. My husband was a First World War veteran.
He was. Did he ever talk about the war?
No. No, that he dismissed. He wouldn't talk about it.
Mhm.
He wasn't right in the firing, but he could hear those. He could hear the firing and the bombs. You know, he was in France, but that was something he would never talk about.
Was there a big celebration when World War II ended?
Yes, I think so.
What's your opinion of the atomic bomb we dropped on Hiroshima?
Well, I don't hardly know what to say. It might have been kind of uncalled for in a way. It sure did kill a lot of people.
It did. Of course, some people say it helped shorten the war, so.
Well, it might have.
Hmm. Were either of your grandfathers in the Civil War?
I don't know. I never knew them. They died before I was
Yeah.
ever born.
Did your parents ever tell you any stories about them when they were kids?
No.
Let me see. How many kids you have?
Two.
Two. How many grandkids?
I had 4, but we lost one. I have 3 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren.
Do you have any advice for them?
But,
Do you have any advice for your grandkids?
well, I can give it, but then it goes in one ear if it goes in and out the other. No, I don't advise them very much. I found out that wasn't the thing to do. Because if they have their mind made up, what they want to do and want to be, why, that's what it is. And no, nothing I would say would change them.
Yeah.
Well, my youngest grandson is in college at Winfield, Kansas, and he's studying to be a nurse. And I just said, keep it up. Go, I'm riding for you. Go on and do it. And my granddaughter, I have just one granddaughter. She's a farmer's wife. And then the oldest grandson, he's a veterinarian up here at Liberal, and he told me when he was 10 years old, said, Grandma, I think I want to be a veterinarian. I said, well, okay, that's fine. And so when he started to school, or high school, I said, now, Dick, I don't know what you should take to help you out, but I said, your teachers will know. And you do and take everything that will help you in that line. So he did.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really a good veterinarian.
That's good.
People really think he's great.
What's your favorite childhood memory?
Well, we lived on the farm, and we couldn't have very many toys or anything like that, like people do now. So my sister, one of my married sisters, lived here in town, and she and her husband were pretty, well, what we'd say well-to-do way back there, you know. So they bought me a doll for my Christmas, and I cherished that more than anything.
What kind of doll was it?
Well, I can't remember if it had a china head or not. I kind of think it did, because I don't know whatever become of it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Guess it just got broken and
Yeah.
torn up.
Mm-hmm. Has Hooker been a good place to live?
Well, I don't know much about any place else. I'd rather live here because, well, it does get awful dry, but we always manage some way. The Lord never forgets to send the rain at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
We always make some kind of a crop here. And we've never really had a bad tornado, not right in this area.
Yeah. What about floods?
No floods. We're too far from the water.
Yeah.
I guess we'd all go crazy if there was to be
Yeah.
a flood.
What about the Beaver River? How far is that?
Well, it's between here and Guymon. It's about, let's see, it's about, from here, it would be around 12 miles, I guess,
Yeah.
where you cross it to go into Guymon.
Has that river changed much? While you've lived here.
Well, there's not much of it. It's just a very small stream.
Yeah.
Might be more this summer. I haven't been across the bridge for a long time. But it used to be just a little creek, you know. And
Did it ever get up in the flood season?
well, one time we had flash flood, and it washed out the bridge. That's been several years ago.
Yeah.
And no one was hurt, but they had to be rerouted to Guymon. But of course, now they built a much